Good morning and happy. Oh, my chair's stuck. Good morning and happy Tuesday, right? Yeah, happy Tuesday. I missed yesterday. I took the weekend off, but I'm back. We're doing Judges. If you're new here, welcome. If you're returning, welcome back. Um, my name is Melissa, and I have been reading through the Bible with you guys. We started at Genesis and we are now 6 books in. Um, do about 30 minutes a day. Today I'm only going to be able to do about 20 minutes because I ran out of storage on my phone, so I have about 20 to 25 minutes of time left. So that's what I can give today. I'm going to go through my phone, delete some stuff, move some stuff around, and prayerfully I'll have enough storage to be able to do the 30-minute video for tomorrow. Um, so yeah, we finished Joshua. We are now going into Judges. Judges is not a long chapter, so probably take us a few days to get through Judges. So we're moving on, moving along here. If you don't know, what I do is I just read for about 30 minutes. I try to do every day. I'm not able to all the time. But read through, that way you can listen to it either right when I post it or whenever you have the time. I do have a whole playlist starting at Genesis, so you can, if you want to read along or listen along, study along. So if you want to listen to it and then study it afterwards or whatever the case may be, life gets busy. Sometimes we just don't have time to sit and read it all at once, and some people do better hearing. They're audio learners, so this is better for them. It's just like doing an audio book. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. And Lord, I just pray that you bless those that watch this video. God, I pray that you bring whoever needs this, whoever's trying to get closer to you, that you bring them to this channel and to these videos, Lord, that they be a blessing to them. God, I pray that you touch them and keep them. In Jesus' name, thank God and amen. All right, so we are starting Judges. After Joshua's death, the Israelites asked the Lord, "Who should go up first to fight for us against the Canaanites?" The Lord said, "The tribe of Judah will go up. I have handed over the land to them." So the tribe of Judah said to the tribe of Simeon, their brothers, "Come up with us into our territory, and let's fight against the Canaanites. Then we'll go with you into your territory too." So Simeon went with them. Judah went up. When Judah went up, the Lord handed them the Canaanites and the Perizzites. They defeated 10,000 men at Bezek. There they found at Bezek, fought against him, and defeated the Canaanites and Perizzites. Adonai-Bezek fled, but they chased after him, captured him, and cut off his thumbs and big toes. He said, 70 kings with severed thumbs and big toes used to pick up scraps under my table. So God has paid me back exactly for what I did." They brought him to Jerusalem, where he died. The people of Judah fought against Jerusalem and captured it. They killed its people with their swords and set the city on fire. Afterward, the people of Judah went down to fight against the Canaanites who lived in the highlands, the southern plain, and the western foothills. Judah moved against the Canaanites who lived in Hebron, known before as Kiriath Arba. Oops, there's a fly down here. And they defeated Sheshai, Ahiman, and Talmai. From there, they moved against those who lived in Debir, known before as Kiriath Sepher. Caleb said, "I'll give you my daughter Asha as a wife to the one who defeats and captures Kiriath Sepher." Othniel, son of Kenaz, Caleb's younger brother, captured it. So Caleb gave him his daughter Ashash as a wife. When she arrived, she convinced Othniel to ask her father for a certain piece of land. As she got down from her donkey, Caleb said to her, What do you want? Ashash said to Caleb, Give me a gift. Since you've given me land in the southern plain, give me springs of water. So Caleb gave her the upper and lower springs. The descendants of Moses' father-in-law, the Kenite, went up with the people of Judah from Palm City into the Judean desert, which was in the southern plain near Arad. They went and lived with the Amalekites. Then the Judahites went with the Simeonites, their brothers, and they defeated the Canaanites who lived in Zephath, and they completely destroyed it. So the city was called Hormah. Judah also captured Gaza, Ashkelon, Ekron, and all their territories. Thus the Lord was with the tribe of Judah, and they took possession of the highlands. However, they didn't drive out those who lived in the plain because they had iron chariots. They gave Hebron to Caleb, just as Moses had commanded, and they drove out from there the 3 sons of Anak. But the people of Benjamin didn't drive out the Jebusites who lived in Jerusalem. So the Jebusites still live with the people of Benjamin in Jerusalem today. In the same way, Joseph's household went up against Bethel, and the Lord was with them. When they sent men to spy on Bethel, previously named Luz, the spies saw a man coming out of the city, and they said to him, Show us the way into the city, and we'll be loyal to you in return. So he showed them the way into the city. They killed the city's people with their swords, but they let that man and all his relatives go. The man went to the land of the Hittites and built a city. He named it Luz, which is still its name today. The tribe of Manasseh didn't drive out the people of Beth Shean, Tanakh, Dor, Ibleam, Megiddo, and any and any of their villages. This fly. Sorry guys. The flies have been really bad lately. The Canaanites were determined to live in that land. When Israel became stronger, they forced the Canaanites to work for them, but they didn't completely drive them out. The tribe of Ephraim didn't drive out the Canaanites living in Gezer, so the Canaanites kept on living there with them. The tribe of Zebulun didn't drive out the people living in Kitron or Nahalo. These Canaanites lived with them, but were forced to work for them. The tribe of Asher didn't drive out the people of Acho, Sidon, Alab, Ashzib, Helba, Aphik, or Rehob. The people of Asher settled among the Canaanites in the land because they couldn't drive them out. The tribe of Naphtali didn't drive out the people living in Beth Shemesh or Beth Anath, but settled among the Canaanites in the land. The people living in Beth Shemesh and Beth Anath were forced to work for them. The Amorites pushed the people of Dan back into the highlands because they wouldn't allow them to come down the plain. The Amorites were determined to live in Har Heres, Aishalon, and Shalbim, but Joseph's household became strong, and the Amorites were forced to work for them. The border of the Amorites ran from Akrabim Pass from Salah and upward. The Lord's messenger came up from Gilgal to Boshim and said, I brought you up from Egypt and led you into the land that I had promised to your ancestors. I said, I will never break my covenant with you, and you are not to make a covenant with those who live in this land. You should break down their altars. But you didn't obey me. What have you done? So now I tell you, I won't drive them out before you, but they'll be a problem for you, and their gods will be a trap for you. When the Lord's messenger spoke these words to all the Israelites, they raised their voices and cried out loud. So they named the place Boshim, and they offered a sacrifice to the Lord there. When Joshua dismissed the people, the Israelites each went to settle on their own family property in order to take possession of the land. The people served the Lord throughout the rest of Joshua's life and throughout the next generation of elders who outlived him, those who had seen all the great things that the Lord had done for Israel. Joshua, Nun's son and servant, and the Lord's servant, died when he was 110 years old. They buried him with the boundaries of his family property in Timnath Heres, in the highlands of Ephraim, north of Mount Gaash. When that whole generation had passed away, another generation came after them who didn't know the Lord or the things that he had done for Israel. Then the Israelites did things that the Lord saw as evil. They served the Baals, and they went away from the Lord, their ancestors' God, who had brought them out of the land of Egypt. They went after other gods from among the surrounding peoples. They worshipped them, and they angered the Lord. They went away from the Lord and served Baal and the Astartes. So the Lord became angry with Israel, and he handed them over to the raiders who plundered them. He let them be defeated by their enemies around them, so that they were no longer able to stand up to them. Whenever the Israelites marched out, the Lord's power worked against them, just as the Lord had warned them, and they were very distressed. Then the Lord raised up leaders to rescue them from the power of their raiders. But they wouldn't even obey their own leaders because they were unfaithful, following other gods and worshiping them. They quickly deviated from the way of their ancestors who had obeyed the Lord's commands and didn't follow their example. The Lord was moved by Israel's groaning under those who oppressed and crushed them. So the Lord would raise up leaders for them, and the Lord would be with the leader, and he would rescue Israel from the power of their enemies as long as that leader lived. But then when when the leader died, they would once again act in ways that weren't as good as their ancestors, going after other gods to serve them and to worship them. They wouldn't drop their bad practices or hard-headed ways. So the Lord became angry with Israel and said, "Because this nation has violated my covenant that I required of their ancestors and hasn't obeyed me, I in turn will no longer drive out before them any of the nations that Joshua left when he died." As a test for Israel to see whether they would carefully walk in the Lord's ways, just as their ancestors had done, the Lord left these nations instead of driving them out immediately or handing them over to Joshua. These are the nations that the Lord left to test all those Israelites who had no first-hand knowledge of the wars of Canaan. They survived only to teach war to the generations of Israelites who had no first-hand knowledge of the earlier wars. The 5 rulers of the Philistines and all the Canaanites, Sidonians, and Hivites who lived in the highlands of Lebanon from Mount Baal Hermon to Lebohamath. They were to be the test of Israel, to find out whether they would obey the Lord's commands, which he had made to their ancestors through Moses. So the Israelites lived among the Canaanites, Hittites, Amorites, Perizzites, Hivites, and Jebusites. But the Israelites intermarried with them and served their gods. The Israelites did things that the Lord saw as evil, and they forgot the Lord their God. They served the Baals and the Asherahs. The Lord became angry with Israel and gave them over to King Cushan Rishathaim of Aram Naharaim. The Israelites served Cushan Rishathaim 8 years. But then they cried out to the Lord. So the Lord raised up a deliverer for the Israelites, Othniel, Kenaz's son, Caleb's younger brother, who rescued them. The Lord's Spirit was in Othniel, and he led Israel. When he marched out for war, the Lord handed over Aram's king Cushan Rishathaim. Othniel overpowered Cushan Rishathaim, and the land was peaceful for 40 years, until Othniel, Kenaz's son, died. The Israelites again did things that the Lord saw as evil, and the Lord put Moab's king Eglam in power over them. Because they did these things that the Lord saw as evil, he convinced the Ammonites and Amalekites to join him, defeated Israel, and took possession of Palm City. So the so the Israelites served Moab's king Eglon 18 years. Then the Israelites called out to the Lord. So the Lord raised up a deliverer for them, Ehud, Jerah's son, a Benjaminite, who was left-handed. The Israelites sent him to take their tribute payment to Moab's king Eglon. Now Ehud made for himself a double-edged sword that was about 1.5 feet long, and he strapped it on his right thigh under his clothes. Then he presented the tribute payment to Moab's king Eglon, who was a very fat man. When he had finished delivering the tribute payment, Ehud sent on their way the people who had carried it. But he himself turned back at the carved stones near Gilgal, and he said, I have a secret message for you, king. So Eglon said, Hush, and all his attendants went out of his presence. Ehud approached him while he was sitting alone in his cool second-story room, and he said, I have a message from God for you. At that, Eglon got up from his throne. Ehud reached his left hand and grabbed the sword from his right thigh. He stabbed it in Eglon's stomach, and even the handle went in after the blade. Since he did not pull the sword out of his stomach, the fat closed over the blade and his guts spilled out. Sheesh. Ehud slipped out to the porch and closed and locked the doors of the second-story room behind him. After Ehud had slipped out, the king's servants came and found that the room's doors were locked, so they thought he must be relieving himself in the cool chamber. They waited so long that they were embarrassed, but he never opened the doors of the room. Then they used the key to open it, and there was their master lying dead on the ground. Ehud had gotten away while they were waiting and had passed and carved stones and escaped Seirah. When he arrived, he blew the ram's horn in the Ephraim highlands. So the Israelites went down from the highlands, with Ehud leading them. He told them, Follow me, for the Lord has handed over your enemies to the Moabites. So they followed him, and they took control of the crossing points of the Jordan in the direction of Moab, allowing no one to cross. This time they defeated the Moabites, about 10,000 big and strong men, and no one escaped. Moab was brought down by the power of Israel on that day, and there was peace in the land for 80 years. After Ehud, Shamgar, Anath's son, struck down 600 Philistines with an animal prod. He too rescued Israel. And I'm going to stop there because I have about a minute left. I pray that this is a blessing to someone. Be sure to like, comment, share, subscribe, do all the things. And that is it for today. Until next time, be blessed and be the reason someone smiles. Bye.